Growing up in the church, both Martin's father and grandfather were pastors at the Great Ebenezer Baptist Church. Martin Luther King attended segregated public schools in Georgia, graduating from high school at the age of 15. He received his bachelor's degree in 1948 from Morehouse College. And after that, 3 years later, he studied seminary at the Crowther Theological Seminary. He enrolled in graduate school at Boston University, completing his residence for his doctorate in 1953, and receiving his degree in 1955. In Boston, he met and married his wife, Coretta Scott, and they were blessed to have four children, 2 boys and 2 girls. In 1955, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. began his journey as the United States civil rights activist and worldly representation of peace and a peaceful resistance by leading the Montgomery, Alabama boycott on the buses that year. On December 21st, 1956, after 382 days of boycotting buses, the Supreme Court of the United States declared it unconstitutional to segregate buses. In the 11 years period between 1957 and 1968, King traveled over 6 million miles, spoke over 2,500 times, appeared anywhere and everywhere injustice and prejudice and inequality was. His work as a civil rights activist culminated in the delivering of his famous I Have a Dream speech on August 28, 1963. After leading a crowd of upwards to 250,000 people to march on to Washington, at the age of only 25, Brother Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was named the youngest man to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. When notified of his selection, he announced that he would turn all of his money, the $54,123, over to further advance the civil rights movement. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on the evening of April 4th, 1968, while standing on the balcony of his motel in Memphis, Tennessee. He was to lead a protest in sympathy of those striking for the garbage workers in the city. In 1982, the great President Ronald Reagan legally established Martin Luther King Jr. Day to be celebrated on the 3rd Monday of every January. In honor of our beloved Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., MLK Day was first observed on January 20th, 1986. And in the year of 2000, that marked the first year that all 50 states celebrated the legacy of this great man, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
To kick off our festivities for this evening, we will now have our very own Divine Purpose Choir, directed by great brother Brittany Weeks. Divine Purpose is the gospel choir seated here at the College of Charleston, and they will be performing 2 a cappella selections for us this evening. Divine Purpose.